As you've probably already seen, Mal O'Brien has decided not to compete at the CrossFit semifinals, which in turn means she will not be competing at the CrossFit Games. I think that this has come as a little bit of a shock to CrossFit fans because a lot of people were expecting her to do well this year. Since Tia is not competing, Mal O'Brien is a great athlete. She's a great overall athlete. Like, she was really quite a contender to fight with Tia for the podium, and to see her step back I think has come as a little bit of a shock. But that being said, it seems like that she is stepping back for personal reasons, for mental health reasons, whether that's with herself or something happening with people in her life, whatever it is, it seems like she's stepping back because of that and not because of an injury. I'm not gonna sit here and speculate and say, oh, I wonder if it's because of this or this. That's none of our business at the end of the day. Mal O'Brien is a very young lady, and this is a huge decision to make. She has a lot riding on her shoulders, and to step back from that is an insane decision and an amazing decision that she can make that at such a young age. The street cleaners are going by. Sorry, just hold on a second. Seeing Mal O'Brien step back for mental health reasons, it made me think, okay, is it sustainable to be a CrossFit Games athlete? And honestly, I don't know how it's sustainable for anyone to be a CrossFit Games athlete, let alone a young woman. So I'm going to be talking mostly about Haley Adams and Mal O'Brien because these are two very young women in the elite division. They both came out of the teen division, and now they're in the elite division, and they have been working out since they were very young. And we saw earlier this year Haley Adams step back from doing the CrossFit Games this year as well. She talked about how she was really struggling mentally, how she wanted to kind of work on her mental health, and this is a huge decision, and I think a great decision if she really wants to work on that. And it's really nice to just see two young girls making this decision, like I said. And so I feel like there's so many aspects when it comes to being a CrossFit Games athlete and the pressure that they're put under. Thinking back to myself in my early 20s, 19, 20, 21, whatever, thinking about that, I was just discovering life. I was learning so much about life. I was trying things. I was out partying. I was doing all these things. And these girls are literally have been in the gym for years, and all they've known is to train, to eat, sleep properly. Every little aspect that they do in their day affects the outcome at the CrossFit Games. And so that is a lot of pressure to put on themselves. They're also discovering life. They're learning about life, and they've now had to uproot their lives. Haley Adams had to move from North or South Carolina, the Carolinas, I don't know where. She had moved all the way across to work with Rich. Same thing for Mal O'Brien. She had to move away from her family, away from her friends to work with Matt Fraser. And that is a big commitment, especially as a young athlete. That's not an easy decision to make, but it is quite a big sacrifice. Then there's pressure of being a top athlete. Being a CrossFit Games athlete has almost, in my opinion, become unsustainable because it's just so high and you have to commit every second of your day to being an athlete. That's very hard. We do see some other athletes who have jobs on the side, which is very rare. Like, we have Emily Rolfe, who is a nurse. I don't know if she's a nurse full-time, part-time, whatever, but she works that in her schedule. But that is very difficult to do and very hard to balance. But most CrossFit Games athletes have to give up jobs just because being an athlete is a full-time job. You need to work out for hours a day. You need to make sure you're recovering properly. You need to make sure you're sleeping properly, eating properly. All those little aspects go into being an athlete. And to try and do anything outside of that is almost next to impossible. And then on top of that, CrossFit, there's so many aspects that go into CrossFit. It's so unpredictable. You have to make sure you're balanced as best as you can overall. Your street cleaners are going across again. Sorry. Now I've lost my train of thought. As athletes at that high level, you cannot make a mistake. And with CrossFit, it's pretty unpredictable. We're seeing Bozeman do a lot of new movements, which that is interesting within itself and has brought in a lot of unpredictability for what's going to be at the CrossFit Games. You have to try and balance being a good overall athlete. So that means balancing weightlifting, gymnastics, cardiovascular endurance, all those things you got to make sure you're good at, and these specific skills. There's a lot of working out there and a lot of commitment and a lot of just working on those little things. As a regular athlete who does CrossFit classes or goes to the gym, whatever, we're not nitpicking on every little thing. Yeah, we're trying to do better, which that is pressure within itself, I must say. But these athletes are nitpicking at every single little thing because any little mistake that they do, if they go out too fast, if they go out too slow, if they do this, if they do one extra ring muscle up, it might make them fatigue faster. That is very technical and very hard within itself, and that they always need to be working on and pinpointing. So there's that aspect of pressure as well, is just being the athlete in general. And then on top of that, there's the pressure of almost being like an influencer as an athlete. So a lot of these athletes need to obviously pay their way through being an athlete, and when you're an athlete, especially a top athlete, you're getting a lot of sponsorships, people are wanting you to post their product, all those things. So there's that pressure as well. So you have to think, okay, well, this company is working with me, this, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we don't see. And I mean, mind you, Mal O'Brien, Haley Adams, a lot of top athletes are able to like hire photographers, videographer, things like that. But that is pressure within itself. You're having to run a social account. You're having to make sure that you're active on your social account a little bit. We've seen Haley in the past year step back a little bit from making content. I've noticed personally, she's not posting every single day or anything like that. But she's also doing some sponsored content here and there, but it's not like everything is sponsored compared to, I feel like, what she was doing before. There was a lot more sponsorships happening, but I don't know every single detail behind the scenes. But that being said, there is pressure on that social media aspect as well. And then we also have the pressure of the fans. Of course, there's a lot of fans when it comes to the CrossFit Games, and there's a lot of pressure on these young girls' shoulders, especially Mal O'Brien. A lot of people, like I said in the beginning, were expecting her to do well at the games this year because Tia wasn't there, or she was a really great competitor against Tia. It felt like there wasn't anyone who really gave Tia I can't speak. She kind of gave Tia a little bit of a run for her money. So there is that pressure from the fans as well. And we saw this with Haley Adams, and I heard Haley Adams, I believe it was an interview where she just spoke up about it, is that she really struggled with her mental health because of the fans. The fans were saying, you're never going to be strong enough, you're never going to be this, which we heard time and time again, you know, oh, it's a heavy workout, Haley Adams probably won't do well, she'll never be strong enough, she's too skinny to be strong enough, she should take steroids because she's never going to be strong enough. And it sucks because if you're always working on your strength, which I think she was doing, she was working on her strength and she was trying to find balance and she was trying to work on that, and hearing the noise from the fans and hearing people come, or even honestly journalists, commentators, someone like me, I mean, I've never bashed her or anything like that. But that being said, there's people with their opinions, and to not hear those opinions is very hard. You're constantly hearing people nitpick how you perform isn't easy. And I think that that's hard to sustain mentally. And that is honestly a big reason why Haley stepped back, is because she kind of lost herself and lost her identity and was listening to these fans kind of just nitpick about her. And honestly, we hear that a lot with like Laura Horvath too, with her handstand push-ups. People are always saying, well, why is she always weak? There's so many things that go into it. But that being said, there's a lot of people who will always nitpick at every athlete and what they're doing. It's easy to sit on the sidelines and judge how an athlete does a workout, but at the same time, constantly hearing that over and over of your weaknesses, or people always putting your weaknesses in your face, is kind of shitty. And then I also wanted to kind of touch on the pressure that maybe Mal was feeling was working with Matt Fraser. Not that it's a bad thing, but we see Matt Fraser in the CrossFit space as a winner. He's a big winner. He did a lot of work to win the CrossFit Games, and to be underneath him, I would say it's pretty hard. Not saying that he's a bad coach or anything. I'm not saying like he's a hard coach. I'm just saying he's always won. He's a great winner. He has really great knowledge, but that is pressure within itself. That is pressure that, as I would say, as a young girl, is a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. We did see Matt Fraser say, I have to kind of rein her back in a little bit because she does want to keep going. She's kind of like, you know, like a racehorse wanting to keep going. But at the same time, maybe there's a little bit of pressure of working underneath Matt Fraser and just the glory that Matt Fraser holds, and then being underneath him and wanting to win, wanting to do those things. That's hard. Not gonna lie, I would say that's some pressure to put under. And it's the same thing with Haley Adams. She was working with Rich Froning, which that is pressure within itself, I would say. Working underneath him, you're expected to win. That is like a huge expectation. And to live up to that expectation is a lot of pressure. So I think that there's just so much pressure of being a CrossFit Games athlete and wondering if it's worth putting yourself underneath that, because it's become so competitive and so nitpicky, and that there's so many variations, and that anything can happen when it comes to the CrossFit Games. You have to really feel confident within yourself and really be mentally balanced, which that's really, really hard to do. And it's really hard to do as a young athlete, I would say. Now, I've seen since Mal made that post that a lot of people in Mal's immediate circle, like her, I don't know if you would call them teammates, but like Katrin, Amanda, even Matt has made a post. Like a lot of people in her immediate circle made a post, you know, supporting her. And it's nice to see that even some journalists, people who commented on this, are supporting her as well, and they're not like, well, you're just taking the easy way out, blah, blah, blah. I haven't really seen anything negative, which is really nice to see, because I find when it comes to mental health, a lot of people tend to not understand that, so a lot of people make quick judgments. I have seen a lot of people wanting to speculate on her decision, but it's really nice to see a lot of people support. And there's an athlete that I follow. She hasn't been at the CrossFit Games for a while now, but it's Caroline Reason-Thibault. She is more of an OG athlete. She has been competing at the CrossFit Games for years. She never really had a lot of media coverage, but I follow her just because she lives close to me, and you know, French athlete in Canada, I follow her. So I saw on her Instagram story her support for Mel and how she really struggled with a similar thing being a CrossFit Games athlete, how you work so hard and for so many years you dedicate so much time, every single aspect of your day, like I've said 100 times, goes to being an athlete, and how it's so hard to take that step back. And it was really nice. She said the real life of an athlete is not always about PRs or highlights in the gym, which we see all the time. When it comes to media and CrossFit, especially towards the CrossFit Games, we're seeing these amazing CrossFit Games athletes doing amazing things, and it's very inspirational, but that's also a lot of pressure. We're always seeing them do really well. We're seeing these PRs, these amazing gymnastic moves, all these things that they're doing. Looks really cool on social media. It's not always the case behind the scenes. Caroline continued to say in her post, this is a post that was done in 2021, so she took a step back quite a while ago. She said, right now I'm struggling. The fierce competitor in me has a desire to fight for the season, and my body seems to think that this is not the right path. So I'm doing what is right for myself now. We'll see soon enough what the season holds for me. Right now, I'm struggling to talk about those feelings, to accept that there's uncertainty, and I'm sharing this as a reminder that what you see on social media isn't always reality. I'll be keeping it real about the challenges I face and sharing more the reality and hopes and giving you greater insight and helping others. Similar thing, she struggled. We even forget about the pressure that is just not mentally, but even physically on your body. You're putting your body through so much throughout the day, or at days, years, whatever, and that is a whole other thing. And to not feel confident with yourself, to feel uncertain, is hard within itself. So it's nice to see that other athletes have spoken up about this in the past, and it's nice to see that younger athletes are taking their mental health serious, because it's definitely not easy. And it's interesting when you think about, is being a CrossFit Games athlete sustainable? Because we see someone like Tia-Clair Toomey, who has done this for years and has won many titles, and she makes it look easy. I mean, we saw her through her pregnancy journey. Man, she made a lot of those workouts look really easy as someone who has been pregnant. So it's just very interesting to think about. It gives you some food for thought, and I would love to hear you guys in the comments down below what you guys think. Is it sustainable to be a CrossFit Games athlete? Is it not? Would you ever commit to being a CrossFit Games athlete, especially at like a young age of 18, 19, 20? Could you do that? I don't know. That's a lot of pressure on someone, and very interesting. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, thumbs up, it really helps the channel. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. You guys know where it is. I do some CrossFit news kind of stuff, but also I do some personal stuff too. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Summer days burn me out, love just brings me down. Go inside like winter leaves that slowly leave the ground. Hey, you come back, I wanna give you a chance. Love me like you used to, so we can learn again. The skin is getting brown, baby, drink your night.